Welcome to Marci Talks Money and Life with your host, MoneyMarci.
Hello, I am MoneyMarci. Welcome. I am thrilled to welcome today's guests, Kina Morgan and Kimberly Johnson. Kimberly has more than 25 years of accounting experience in various industries, specializing in financial reporting, SEC filings, and technical accounting research. Kimberly started her career with KPMG LLP, the U.S. arm of a multinational accounting firm, which is currently what is termed one of the Big Four accounting firms here in the U.S., as an external auditor for 6 years. She has worked for multiple Fortune 500 companies, including Mohawk Industries and Rollins, Inc. Kimberly is from Cleveland, Ohio. She has a BS in accounting from North Carolina A&T State University and an MBA from Georgia State University. She has been a certified public accountant for over 25 years. She enjoys working out, traveling, sporting events, and music. Kimberly is passionate about personal finance and currently volunteers as a financial coach for Atlanta Habitat for Humanity. She is also a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc., and has served on several committees at her local chapter. Kimberly's passion for teaching has led her to also be an adjunct accounting professor at Georgia State University. Kina Morgan is one of the founding partners of Your Balanced Partners LLC, a firm that provides fractional CFO services, SEC reporting services, accounting services, and governance and controls management. Prior to starting the firm, Kina was the Chief Financial Officer for Indelible Business Solutions, a consulting firm that provides support to governmental and health equity agencies across the country. Kina also spent 15 years at the Coca-Cola Company in various leadership roles in internal audit and controllership. She worked for Bell South Corporation, currently known as AT&T, in several management roles in shared services and internal audit. A native of Kansas City, Missouri, Kina has spent her professional career in Atlanta. She started her career at KPMG as an assurance auditor. Kina is a proud magna cum laude graduate of Florida A&M University School of Business and Industry, where she majored in accounting. Kina is also a certified public accountant. During her time in college, she was also an Inroads Scholar. Kina is a longtime member of the National Association of Black Accountants and has served in several positions. She is also a proud co-owner of Cocoa Cakes by Coco, an excellent bakery in downtown Tucker, Georgia. Together, they are podcasters with their business partner, April Batiste Reed, at Balance Your Books podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. They provide finance and accounting insights for small business owners in a fun and approachable way. Welcome, Kina and Kimberly.
Wow.
Thank you, Marci.
Let me tell you.
You sound like wow.
Yeah, and that's our show for today. Thank you very much.
It's like, oh, wow, Marci, thank
Wait
you.
a minute, hold up.
I also feel tired.
Wow. Yeah.
Done a lot,
No,
huh?
you guys are busy.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been a good life, thank God.
Yes, a good run.
Yes.
We're not done running.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what made you decide to go into accounting?
Ooh, I'll start. So for me, I have to give a shout out to two influences. One would be one of my best friends, Terry's dad. He was a partner at a firm in Kansas City. And so that was my introduction to what accounting was seeing him and him talking about his work. And then the other would be Coach Elliott, who was my accounting professor in high school. So I actually took an accounting course in high school and I really enjoyed it. I wonder where Coach Elliott is today, but I got to give him a shout out as the two influences of going into accounting. And as you mentioned, I was in Inroads, which is an excellent program to introduce high school students to, at the time, it was accounting or engineering. Those were like the two areas that Inroads would provide guidance, and then also you could get with a sponsoring company and get internships every summer. Joined that program with my friends, and decided that, oh, wait, I think accounting is the one that I want to do because I looked at Business Enterprise magazine and it said, what are the top majors that would get a job? And number one was engineering, number two was accounting. And so knew I didn't want to do engineering. And there you go.
Well, my story to accounting is not as smooth. I started as a psychology major in college. And after 2 semesters, the classes started to become more science-based. And I went to my guidance counselor and said, I like math. Can I take another math class? It was not on my curriculum. And she said, Kimberly, what do you want to do? Because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And she suggested that I take a introduction to accounting class. And at that time, that class was a weed out class and everybody thought it was hard. And the engineering students at the school would take it to show the accounting students that it wasn't that hard. I took it and it came natural to me. And then after I got my first internship and I was like, wait, I can make good money doing something that comes natural to me. Okay, I'm gonna stick with this accounting thing. And so here I am. Whew, that was over 35 years ago that I took my first accounting class.
Yes.
On the show, I talk to a lot of people about life pivots.
Kimberly's a pivoter.
My life has been. I'm a major pivoter. So that was the first major pivot. But look, you can't hold me down. You can't put me in a box, Marci. I will change.
But what's interesting is within the profession, there's so many different things that you can do that are very different from each other. And so that's why I'm teasing Kimberly around her pivots.
Well, you didn't go from accounting to, oh, now I'm going to be I'm a
Painter.
a painter.
A Broadway star.
You could be a Broadway star. I have no idea. Do you sing?
She does sing.
Okay, Broadway, here she comes.
You never
But
know.
yeah, I mean, I think we all, once you're in accounting, I do know plenty of people, they get to a firm, they stay there, they just go up the trajectory, but I know many more that started a firm and maybe they stay in public accounting or maybe they go to private, maybe they switch firms before they find the firm that is just the right fit for them. Did you meet at KPMG?
Yes.
We did. That's where we
Yes.
met at KPMG. Yeah, all three of us. So all
Yes.
three of us, we've known each other for 30 years. So that's where the friendship was forged.
Yes.
So you met KPMG at the beginning of your career. You all went in
Yes.
different directions and did
Yes.
different things, but you kept in touch.
Yes.
I assume you didn't just randomly 25, 30 years later say, hey,
No.
let's
No,
No,
we've been friends throughout the whole time.
Yes. Yes.
You bring a wealth of experience because the three of you went in all these different directions. And then you decided to create a firm. And then while you're creating, you're like, hey, why don't you join us over here?
Yeah, exactly. That's
And
pretty much.
that was my last pivot. I was just like, I don't like working corporate America anymore. And Kina was like, come on. Okay. Pivot.
Right. Like I was saying, there's so many different things that you can do, and we all went so many different directions. But even Kimberly moved away and came back, and so it's been an interesting adventure. And what's interesting about the accounting world, how they always say that 7 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon. That's kind of how it is in accounting too. It's like everybody's kind of connected in some way in the profession, especially I would say in the Atlanta area, which is where we are.
Okay. Your firm offers a lot of different services.
Yes.
I assume that was from the things that you guys did coming up. You got to the point where you said, okay, we're doing the firm and these are the things we know. I love
Yes.
the fractional controllership because so many companies, they don't need a full-time controller, a full-time CFO, but they need
They
someone
need
in
to
that position who
guide.
knows
Yeah.
what they're doing, who can communicate regularly with them. Um, are you finding that's a big part of your business?
Yes. I would say that part of why we started the firm was when you're in corporate America and you're in finance, there's 1,000 finance people, and especially at a company as big as I was at. And so a lot of times, a lot of the things that you are working on just go into this big, vast bubble. And I think you work hard on it, you figure out different processes, you figure out different things to do, and you may have the opportunity, like I had, to build an organization and do all of these things that you think are great. But then there's all these other layers above you that then say, you know what, we're going to completely talk about pivot. We're going to completely pivot the company and take everything off overseas. So then everything you created is gone in an instant. And so that was what it was for me. I got tired of putting my sweat into building something, into building people, into creating these environments that was like, okay, this is the culture we're going to have in our group, and this is what we're going to do for the company. And then it just completely goes to nothing. When I left and started working with a smaller business, I loved how much I could impact that organization quickly. And that led to creating the firm. Like, what if you could use, like, what I call our finance superpowers? What if we could use this for good in the small business community? What if we could really help organizations be able to get the same type of techniques, guidance, methodologies that a lot of the big wigs use, but we narrow it down to what's good for small business? That was the driving motivation for doing the firm. And starting our podcast, really. Yeah. Because we recognize that as you talk to more and more small business owners, there's a lot around finance and controls and governance that they don't know.
Right.
We were working with a few different clients, and then we would just be out meeting people. We started networking more in the small business community, and they just have some crazy notions. You just hear them say some things, and you're like, you shouldn't do that. That's not how you should handle your financials, or that's not how you should set up a process. And what you recognize is there's a lot, I'll say this, accountants tend to hang out with other accountants. And so we can end up talking and think that a lot of the things that we know are common knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so the more that you talk and interact with other people, you recognize that a lot of things that we do actually is knowledge that is unique to us that we need to share. And so we do have superpowers that maybe we didn't realize that we had and that we need to use. And so that's why I say we decided to use it for good. You recognize that, oh, you don't know that? Phew, okay, in my circle, everybody knows that. Right. So that's the kind of things that we've decided that we need to get this information out.
And being friends and traveling together, like the three of us, we would sit around and talk about stuff. And when we'd be around our friends that aren't accountants, like we have some educators, and we're talking about a topic or something we came across, the people who don't know accounting were like, this is good information. The ones who are starting their businesses, they're like, this is good information. You should share it. So I think part of it is the beauty of our podcast is that we are such good friends, and really we're just talking about things we've seen, we've experienced. It might be an article or something. It's like the way our minds work, as soon as we see something that has any type of financial tinge to it, we start to think about how could small businesses benefit from this information.
Yeah, I've listened to your podcast. It's a lot of fun and it's good information. I just want to sit there with you, have some coffee, and hang.
That's kind of, yeah. We wanted to make things as plain as possible. And Marci, you do that on your show as well. Want to make the conversation easy for the listener, and so they can get just a little nugget. Let's just plant a seed of knowledge that hopefully will bloom into something beautiful. Sometimes it's been very frustrating working with clients because sometimes they don't want to listen. But we've learned a lot from that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they get these wild ideas because they hear something that either the person wasn't giving them quality information or they misunderstood what they heard, and all of a sudden they've got an idea and this is how it should work, and oh boy.
They're a dog with a bone. They're a dog with a bone. What I have found is, well, there's a good and bad for being an entrepreneur. The good is you have to be a little crazy, right? You have to be a risk taker and someone who is almost unrealistically optimistic. So you got to think that things are always going to work. Or an entrepreneur would quit the second day, in starting a business. So they need to have that type of energy. The issue is that in recognizing that you need that kind of energy in your business, then that means you definitely need to go out and seek those who don't have that type of energy, but who still want you to succeed, that to partner with you. And that tends to be the finance side of the house. I call us the Debbie Downers to do Saturday Night Live. Wah, wah, wah. But yeah.
Oh, the sad trombone.
Wah, wah, with the look that you used to give. When we do that because we want you to succeed. It's not because we want you to fail. And so you've got to bring that level of energy to your business if you want it to be successful. That's what I have found. And when you don't listen to it, it makes it tough.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. Let's pause for a quick break.
Hi, everyone. This is Karen, the person who joins Marci each season for the wrap-up episode. Are you writing a book? Do you need an extra set of eyes on it? To make sure it's going in the right direction, to catch problems you really need to fix? Well, that's me. I'm a professional editor. I offer a special service, the extra set of eyes. I help you bring your ideas to life by asking insightful questions and checking your structure, theme, and tone. Call 480-485-7780 or go to myextraeyes.com. That's 480-485-7780 or myextraeyes.com.
Now, when we had talked before the podcast, get to know each other,
Yes.
One of the things we talked about that'd be great to talk about here on the podcast was about nonprofits
Yes.
and what people need to know when they start them up, because I frequently see that online. Hey, does someone know how to start a nonprofit? And there's so much people don't know about nonprofits. And while I
Yes.
worked on one, I didn't set it up, and it was a large one. It was a machine that I kept going, but it wasn't the instigating parts of it. So I'd love to hear from you. I don't know if it's more like a checklist or more of just anecdotally the things people should know.
Yeah. Well, I would say first is really be clear on what your mission is. So a nonprofit should be providing good to the world. And who that audience within the world that you are going to serve, be clear on who that is. And so if your nonprofit is to save the whales, then save the whales. The whales are your audience that you are trying to save. You can't save the whales and the donkeys. You have to save the whales. Right? So be clear on what's your mission, because nonprofits have to survive off of giving, either donor giving or getting grants, which is still just giving. It's just in a different package. But you survive off of those who believe in your mission. So if your mission isn't clear, you're not going to get people to donate to your mission. So I would say that would be the first thing, is to be clear on that. What I have found, people start nonprofits for two reasons. One, because they believe in there's certain type of good in the world. And then there are wealthy people who start nonprofits for tax reasons. So those are kind of the two reasons that I've seen people start nonprofits.
Now, starting a nonprofit for a tax reason doesn't mean that's a bad nonprofit. It doesn't mean it doesn't have a
not at all.
mission. And there are people who work at nonprofits and they make salaries, they work there, they're not volunteers, and that doesn't mean that they are bad people or that it's a bad nonprofit.
Nope.
You need those people to make that mission happen. And I think a lot of people lose sight of it because you'll see these charts that go out. This nonprofit, this much went to salary. Well, the question is, what is their nonprofit goal? Is their goal to create money for something else, or is it to do something and you need these people to do something.
To serve the community, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But can I add something? Let me add something before you even be clear on your mission. And yes, you need to be clear on your mission. You need to determine if there's a need for what you're trying to do in your area. Sometimes I find that people are saying, hey, I want to start a nonprofit to service middle school girls in the community. And I'll say, wait, and I can list 2-3 other organizations that are doing this. So is there a need for this nonprofit in your service area? And if there is, then define your mission. But I think there's sometimes people, they see something and they feel there's a need, but you have to do the research to determine, is that need in your service area, in your community? Is there another organization already doing that? Maybe you can join with that other organization and help them grow. So I just wanted to add that part.
Yeah, no, that's fair, because there's a lot of different nonprofits. And if you are really mission based, is it about you being in charge, or is it about the mission?
Right.
The mindset for your nonprofit work is about community. And there are times that we've even had to remind some of our nonprofit leaders that, wait, I feel like you're starting to venture into a thinking like a business, like a for-profit business. Every time I talk to them, I always say, well, wait, what's the mission? Well, wait, what's our mission? That's got to be that center for all decision making for a nonprofit, is the mission. For profits, it's to make money, but for a nonprofit, it's to fulfill the mission. And that's why I said that it doesn't matter all the paperwork you do. We'll go into that part next, but that mission has to be, you have to be committed to it. And so once you're committed to it, another thing that really helps, I think, a nonprofit is to develop a board of directors or advisors. And those are other people who believe in your mission. I think nonprofits that are more successful build that board earlier, because then you're getting, not only do you have the arms and legs of other people who are out there spreading the word about the mission, but also challenging the different programming things that you are putting up to make it better and stronger. So I'm just a firm believer is, more the right heads together are going to make a better decision than the one head.
Exactly. And it goes back to what you said about the innovative, unrealistically optimistic person that may be the one that says, hey, I want to start this nonprofit. But then you have your board of directors of those that'll say, okay, let's make it, let's bring it down. Let's, take small bites. Let's rein it in. And you may be the one with the big dream. And then you have your friend who is the one that can, let's build a spreadsheet. Let's make a list. Let's make sure we check off all, we're doing this, we're doing that. And the two of you, the three of you, however many of you together with your different skill sets, your board will be able to build a successful organization.
Right. So because if your organization is something that's education focused, have a teacher or a principal or something as one of your board people. Then of course maybe you have a finance kind of person, or maybe you have a marketing or someone who's really good at fundraising. Those type of advisors on your board makes it really strong from the beginning, because they all bring something very different to the table for your nonprofit. So I would say get that board together. And so now you kind of know who you are and what you're trying to be, and these are the group. Now you got to do your mechanics. And the mechanics are in your state, understanding the rules of nonprofit to set up nonprofit in your state. You got to set up there first. So you're going to register with the Secretary of State of your state. You're going to with the board. Who are those board members? You usually have to start with at least 3 board members to set up your nonprofit. That usually is the person the executive director, a secretary, and a treasurer. So it's they have to be in one of those board seats. So that's usually a part of the setup. You'll set up with the Secretary of State, and then you have to set up with a federal.
Let's backtrack because this is all good. This is all good. As you know, part of my experience is the technical accounting, and I want to get a little technical because before we do that, you need to know the IRS rules for a nonprofit.
Yes.
You need to know that what it takes to register to become a 501c3, a tax exempt status for a nonprofit. Because if you're organizing a nonprofit, you want to have tax exempt status in order to fund your nonprofit.
Ideally.
I am more like, let's say I'm a giving person, but if you are 501c3, I'll give more money to your child's organization than if we're just raising money for uniforms. Because
you don't have to, because just so people know, you don't have to be a tax exempt nonprofit. Right. You can register with your state and be a nonprofit, but no one can deduct their donations to you on their tax return.
And you can say that's political and stuff where those are not deductible contributions.
Right.
Yes.
And I want my contributions to be deductible as a person giving. So determine, do you want to be a tax exempt nonprofit or a nonprofit? I don't want to say just a non-tax, but if you want to be a tax exempt
nonprofit,
non-tax exempt nonprofit, and if you want to be tax exempt, then understand those rules. That is one of the things. And you can start out as a non-tax exempt nonprofit and move to a tax exempt nonprofit. But if your ultimate goal is to be tax exempt, start to understand those rules now. You can start the board of directors and do all that, but know what you're going towards. And I always say, again, for income, my son is raising money for, is this a nonprofit? Will I get a letter? If it's nonprofit, I'll get a letter. I'll give you $100. If it's not, here's $25. That's just how my mind works because I'm trying to keep my tax liability low. Anyway, carry on, Kina.
Yeah, that is correct.
So many people are not able to itemize anymore, so it becomes irrelevant.
Yes.
I know the new tax law, so for 26, you're going to be able to deduct charitable to some extent, even if you don't itemize. But the tax laws change continually. I do want to kind of bring up, because as a firm the way you are, I assume that you probably have people that say, hey, we would like to start a nonprofit. Will you donate your time to be our, and how do you deal with those? Because people are like, I want to start a nonprofit. I am looking for an attorney and accountant to donate their time for me to start my nonprofit. If I donated my time to every group that wanted me to donate my time to be their accountant,
you wouldn't have time to make money.
Respectfully say no. That's part of why we are doing things like your podcast, our podcast, to get the information out there. This is our giving you the free part. But if we're going to do the work, yes, there is a cost. But a lot of it, if you take the time and read through your state's requirements and the IRS requirements, you could do it yourself. You could set it up yourself, at least to get the registration part, because it's actually not that difficult. And especially the state registration, just to get your nonprofit before you go into the tax exempt part. So just the initial piece of it is really fairly easy. The big mistake that I saw and I hate it. This is again why we also started going to this work, because a client of ours who is a nonprofit, they came on board. We're like, great, we're going through all of their governing documents. And we noticed that they had set up a nonprofit with their state. We're like, boom, you're good there. They have their mission, boom. They have a couple people on the board, great. But then we look at their federal filing, and they had set up the organization as a corporation, an S corporation. What happened?
You were doing so good.
You were so close to being correct. What happened? And they actually had paid somebody to set them up. And it's like, well, they set you up incorrectly. So we literally had to get our tax partners, which is what April and her team does. We had to all get together and say, how do we resolve this? How do we, because they're totally set up wrong. So we had to completely dissolve the organization, do a last tax filing. They had to file as a corporation. They had to file as a state, as a nonprofit, file as a corporation, federal. We dissolved it all and we had to rebuild it completely for them.
If your tax return is not a 990, then chances are you're not a nonprofit.
Exactly. And it's, it was disheartening because they had paid somebody to be a registered agent to set them up for this stuff, and it was completely wrong. So yes, make sure that when you are setting up everything, including initially with the IRS, that it is a 990, that you are checking you are a nonprofit. You do not set up as any other type of organization. I know it's a long list when you look at the IRS, but you are doing nonprofit. And so that is, as Marci mentioned, it's the 990 tax return that you do.
Yes.
Let's pause for a quick break. I think a lot of people are surprised it's a nonprofit. Why am I doing a tax return?
Yes, because you still have to tell the government what you brought in and how you spent it.
Right.
And it's really more, the 990 is more like a huge checklist.
Right.
And there is what's called the postcard 990, that if you're a small nonprofit, it's a really quick document that you need to file. So if you're not, I forgot what the threshold amount is, but if you are a small nonprofit that doesn't bring in a lot, there is the opportunity to do that. But yes, so in that initial setup, please make sure that you have selected the right organization.
Yes.
I think people get a little confused by putting Inc. on their stuff and all these other kind of things. But it's like, no, you're a nonprofit. You are not a profit business. So I said, what's your mission? What is
and
it
you
that
have to put your mission on your 990. Your 990, they require you to put your mission.
Yes.
Your mission is on, it's that important. You put your mission on your 990 because the government wants to know, okay, what's the purpose? And then when you go through the part where you list the community that you served and how many people benefited and all that, that has to align with your mission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You also then should have some type of tracking mechanism. So I would say an accounting tool on tracking your donations coming in and your expenses. So if you're really small, you could do that in Excel. But if you got a lot more transactions, then you want to have an accounting system.
And you want to track your expenses on a project basis, because that goes back to what you have to report on your 990. When you're saying these are the programs that we had, this is the community that we served, how many people benefited, how many expenses went to the back to school backpack drive, right? What did we spend there? What did we spend on the college tour section of our mission, and how many students went? You need that level of detail. If it's very small and you just have one major project a year, maybe you can do Excel, but you want some sort of system where you can track it on a project basis.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea if you're starting a nonprofit, rather than wait until you've finished a year to look at the 990 and what it wants. Spend some time getting familiar with that 990 so you know how you want to track your information and what you want to keep.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, so I would say, so in setting up your financial system, you've done all your registrations, you've got to get money. How do you get money? And so there is a separation between your personal and your nonprofit. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Before we start getting money, here's the technical. Create policies and procedures. Have a level of policies and procedures that you have documented, that your board has agreed to. When you start to, if you're hiring people, you start to hire them, they know these policies and procedures before you bring in money. Have your policies and procedures document so that anytime you may have a disagreement about something or how you're handling something, let's go back to the policies and procedures that we documented when we formed this organization and look to see, okay, how should we handle this transaction? Okay, so now we're getting money.
Yeah, because I would say it really depends on the size of I'm thinking about, I'm president of a friends group for our local library. Our mission, very simple. We sell books to make money to give to the library for its programming. That's it. It's no more than that. It's very, very basic. We sell books for $1. People donate books. We sell books for $1, and then we give them money for like paper and other stuff they need for the library needs for its programming. So if it's small like that and it's very, very focused, we have an operating agreement that says this is what it does. This is what we provide money for. If you have kind of what Kimberly's describing, where you want to do several different programs and they're very specific and you are running them, like your nonprofit is running them, then in that situation, you definitely have to have something that's more detailed. So just to kind of give the levels of nonprofit, because there's levels of nonprofits just like there is in a bigger for-profit organization. Whether you're a very, very small business or a medium-sized business, you're going to have more and more policies and procedures the larger you are. But if you are really a community-based, you've got to have some type of process documentation.
And the more people you have involved, I think it's more key to have documented policies and procedures. Let's get money.
Yes, getting donors. So let's say initially, because you believe in the mission, you're kind of going to start with your circle. Like you start with yourself in the middle, and then you have this circle going out, and it goes out and out further and further, and you network. And as Kimberly mentioned earlier, people take you more seriously when you are a real 501c3. If you're a registered nonprofit in your state, some states like the state of New York has a special separate registration that you can do for your nonprofit, so people can go out and search the nonprofits of the state of New York. And if you're an official nonprofit in there, people tend to be more willing to give you money. So when you're trying to get money, anything beyond, I would say, the individual, they're going to look for a lot more information from you. So they're going to want to look for those registrations. They're going to sometimes want to see financial statements. They want to see that you have a CFO and what are their credentials. So the more money and level of money you're trying to get, the more structure they're going to be expecting you to provide. The number of people served, a lot of things that we ask, what we advise our nonprofit clients to do. Every year you should be doing an impact report. And so that impact report should be detailing who you served, how did you serve them, and what is that impact on society. And then here's how the money was used, and a breakdown of how the money was used. And that should be something that you create every year. And so that impact will get bigger and bigger in terms of what you're pulling together as your organization grows. But that is a key piece to getting donors.
That's your marketing.
Yes.
That's part of your marketing pamphlet. Even, corporations, large corporations, their annual report, the first part of it is that glossy with pictures, and this is what we did, and these are our employees, and this is where we donated, and all that. For your nonprofit, that impact report that's your sales pitch. Yep. And, the more you can include pictures and things like that. And I think sometimes nonprofit leaders, they're focused on the mission and they're like, we didn't take any pictures at this event. No, take pictures. People like pictures of
video.
children smiling and people reading or whatever it is. People like those pictures. Take pictures of every event so that you can promote your organization and get more people to give money, back to giving money. And have that process where you can give them their letter, of course, that says, hey, this is how much you donated. If you've received benefits, that kind of lowers how much it is considered a charitable contribution.
Sometimes there's a dinner, or if there's,
Yep.
an
Like
event.
contributing to the museum, being a founding member of the museum. Every year I get a glossy calendar. I'm donating $250. I get a glossy calendar. I get a discount on this and this, that, the other. And they will break down. You donated $250, $225 is deductible. That's the type of letter that I get. But that's a huge organization that can break it down like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm
And
sorry,
the
Kina.
more, no, because that's a good point, because the more quote unquote legit your documentation and what you're providing to donors, the more donors you will get. So making sure that award letters go out. The award letters are the letters that you send to donors at the end of the year. Usually you send them in January so people can get it for their taxes. You will send the award letter, say, hey, thank you, you donated X amount. So that is critical, especially for individual donors. Organizations, large organizations may not be looking for that so much, but those individual donors for sure are. And so the more that you do that and you send that with an impact report, you'll start seeing that more people will start to buy into your mission, because they're like, oh, this person is serious. They're serious about their mission. They're serious about how they're operating their nonprofit. We've all heard different horror stories and people who get convicted of crimes because they did not follow the rules. So it's serious business. And you have to conduct yourself as such. Because I think sometimes people think, oh, no, I'm just going to be a nonprofit. Like that's something easy to do.
Mm-mm. And as someone who donates, someone who gives, I love getting those impact reports. I love when I can see my money went to something good, and I see smiling faces. Or even at my alma mater, I get a letter from some student at school and it's like, thank you for giving. I didn't have to pay for books this semester because you donated to the university. Things like that make me feel good. So it's not for me, not just tax deduction. I like to feel good when I give my money.
Right.
I do want to say, even though we are having this conversation in a lot of detail and a lot of information is going here, this is not tax advice to my listeners.
Correct.
This is accountants having conversations about these things. This is information for you to consider whether you need to go to a professional or whether you think you can do it on your own. So please do your own research and make sure you know what you're doing as you move forward, hopefully creating a nonprofit to benefit your community.
Absolutely.
Yes. Always consult your tax professional.
Absolutely. Talk to us. Bring us coffee. We love coffee. Anyway,
Exactly.
Kina and Kimberly, before we wrap up, do you have anything else you want to mention that maybe we haven't covered yet?
I just encourage people to continue to work to build the world a better place. And that's what the nonprofit is about. And you shouldn't be worried about getting the credit. It should be about doing the mission.
The impact.
So be willing to do the work to do it right and set it up correctly, because that then will help you achieve your mission.
Yes. Amen.
Anything from you, Kimberly?
Nope, that is good. I'm good.
Okay. Well, Kina and Kimberly, thank you so much for being my guests today. We appreciate you taking the time to join us here.
Well, thank you, Marci.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Oh, this was a good time.
Yes.
To my listeners, I will be sharing a link to Your Balanced Partners LLC and the podcast in the show notes. Please check them out. They have a lot of interesting information. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and stay tuned. I'll see you next time. This has been MoneyMarci on Marci Talks Money and Life. You got this.